This morning we start by celebrating Epiphany. Epiphany is a Greek word that means to shine forth, to make plain, or to appear. And so it's in Epiphany the church historically has looked at the stories in Jesus' life when he walked the earth, moments where who he was appeared. But it's more than that. We think of Epiphany as a moment like when a light bulb comes on. You'd say, well, I was in the shower, or I was driving home, I was shoveling walks, maybe folding the laundry, and I had an epiphany. That means there was a moment where all of a sudden the lights came on and I saw something for the first time. Now, what I'm saying then is that Epiphany is not just a season in the Christian year, it's a moment. Epiphany is something that occurs to you. It's an awakening. All of a sudden, the light come on, and I saw something I have never seen before, and man, that changes everything. Now, we have lots of epiphanies, most of us, throughout the course of a year. If you write sermons as I do, then every sermon is an epiphany. And you try to write it down in a sentence, and so I have an epiphany this morning. And if you write it down, it'd be the only thing you write all day, I tell you. Here it is in one sentence. Two things can be true at the same time. Full stop. You don't believe that. You'll hear two ideas. They seem to say opposite things. And either you will look for a middle way, you'll try to blend them together, or you will try to interpret the other through the one. Sometimes you will say, well, they're both true, but the one is true now, the other be true later. But because you're human, you cannot hold two ideas in your head equally at the same time. Over time, you will start to lean more towards one and away from the other. Now, let me be clear about this. You never stop believing in the other. It's just that you spend so much time in the one that you start to see the other through the eyes of the one. Am I making sense? I can't tell. So in the Gospels, there's a ton of these. Every time Jesus appears, it's an epiphany because two things are happening and you're never quite sure who is he and what is he doing. So for instance, when he's in the boat with the disciples and the storm comes over the Sea of Galilee, he's asleep in the hull of the boat. And the disciples go back and they wake him up. And they say, don't you care? We're going to drown. He comes to the front of the boat and he speaks to the storm. Have you ever tried doing that? Did it work? He speaks to the storm and it is calm. And you wonder, how is it that someone who is subject to the laws of nature, such that he has to sleep, one moment could stand up and control the laws of nature with his voice? Is he a human such that he must sleep, or is he God such that he can speak to the storm? And the answer, of course, is yes. But you can't hold those in your mind for long. You will, over time, start to lean toward one or the other. I have, in the last few years of my life, leaned more towards Jesus, the human, than I did toward Jesus, the Lord. And I'm not sure, but I think this is kind of the way the present culture is leaning right now. We have no trouble admitting that Jesus is human. And so he empathizes incredibly well. But can he actually do something? That's the question. When does he break in and start changing things? And so, the longer we live with the one, the less we can see of the other. That's why this Epiphany, I turned back to the book of Revelation. Because in the Gospels, I see a Jesus that I'm very familiar with. But in Revelation, I haven't heard much about him lately. In the Gospels, he comes lying in a manger. Revelation, he comes riding on the clouds. Gospels, he's standing in the temple. Revelation, he's standing among the churches. The Gospels, he sits in the synagogue. In Revelation, he sits on the throne. You see where I'm going? You don't hear much about this other one. In the Gospels, he is suspending or controlling the powers of the devil. But in Revelation, he is actually casting the devil out. In the Gospels, he builds the church. But in Revelation, he marries the church. The Gospels, he is seeking the lost sheep of Israel's the way he put it. But in Revelation, he's gathering the nations, all the nations around himself. And I'm just saying, I haven't heard much about that Jesus lately, and I thought maybe we ought to wake him up. So if you let me, I want to go back to Revelation to talk about the message that Revelation brings to the church, because I don't think there is a message in the New Testament more relevant to the church today than the one in Revelation. In fact, it is the only book in the New Testament that promises to bless the person that reads it. Now think about this. It's the last book you read because you're afraid of it. So how is it that the one book that would bless you, you won't read because it confuses you? And yet, if you could get it, it would be a missile into the church and our lives today. In Revelation, the last word on Jesus is that he is coming. Yeah, I was expecting that. You're underwhelmed. The more comfortable we are, present tense, the less compelling is the second coming of Jesus. Because the battleground has become a playground. And if I could speak for some of us, frankly, don't want him to come right now. I've got too many things going on. I've got to finish some things. I'm still waiting for the Lions to win the Super Bowl. I hope he don't wreck it by coming early. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we've got on our schedules right now. I'm not sure that we see the second coming of Christ as that big of a deal. But you understand, the harder things get, the more you're up against it. And you can't change the forces that are ruling this world. The more you go back to this idea, wait a second, I forgot, he's coming soon. If Christ is coming again, this means that there is a reckoning at the end of all time. Now think about this. It means every individual life will be measured according to the Son of Man. Every institution will be measured according to the Son of Man. Every career that is in the room this morning will suddenly be measured according to the Son of Man. That in itself ought to tell us things are not always as they seem. When you look forward to the coming of Christ and you realize in that moment everything in this world is measured according to the Son of Man, you start to change your priorities a little, don't you? You want things to matter now like they're going to matter then. So you start asking yourself, am I putting too much of my life into one thing and not enough of it for something else? This is why in the jobs that you're doing every day of your life, it is less about your occupation and more about your preoccupation. Whatever the job is, are you doing it preoccupied with the Son of Man who is coming in the clouds? Because ultimately that's going to be how that career gets measured. Now, the world doesn't have anything like this. The world's alternative to this giant hope at the end of time is optimism. And optimism in the world comes in two forms. It either comes in the form of karma or it comes in the form of progress. If it comes as karma, then the way we deal with all of the injustices is we say to ourselves, there is a justice built into the universe. You don't need to worry about it. At the end of things, people ultimately get what they deserve. Chickens come home to roost. You don't need to worry about it. Evil will just implode on itself because it's not sustainable, and good is its own reward. So don't worry yourself with it. Can't fix the world. The world will fix itself. That's karma. Progress is the idea that things are getting perpetually better, albeit slowly, but better. That means if you just give us the right leader, give us enough money, big enough military, the right policies, good science and technology, and we will solve the problems of the world. Disease, want, ignorance, squalor, prejudice. We'll take care of these things if we just have enough stuff. That's progress. Only we can't. And we won't. So the gospel in Revelation comes to people today that says, you can't do this. Look, he's coming in the clouds. It'll say it 4 times in chapter 22. I am coming. Let the Spirit and the bride say, come. Let all who listen say, come. Yes, I am coming. And here's the interesting part. Every time he says it, it is written in the present tense. It's not something in John's mind that is going to happen later. It's something that has already started now. So in John's mind, the second coming is not a standalone doctrine at the end of time. It's the culmination of the first coming, which is why Jesus said, when he came, the time has come. The kingdom of God is near. So in John's mind, all that's happening in the second coming is Jesus is going to finish everything he started in the first coming. So he's come, and yet he's coming. 2 things can be true at the same time. Now, here's why that is so powerful a message for us today. John says, when I heard this, I was on the island of Patmos, which is a prison colony. And I was imprisoned because of my testimony. And yet, John says, it was the Lord's day. Right there. Right there. 2 things. One of them is, I'm living in exile under the Roman Empire, and the Romans are in charge. For something I didn't do, I'm paying for this, and there is no end in sight. I'm an 80-year-old man. My body is failing. I might be sick. I am terribly alone. I'm standing on an island, alone, hoping that God will show up. And so far, nothing has happened. N.T. Wright talks about his first trip to Israel. He said he stood on the Mount of Olives and he looked at the city. If you've been there, you know the scene. It's a moment. You look and you see the gates in the city of Jerusalem. He said, as I was standing looking at the gate, it was the eastern gate, I said to the guy next to me, can you believe this? He's going to come back. He's going to go through that gate. He's going to order a whole new world according to the ways of God. Can you believe that? And the guy next to him said, I don't believe that. And N.T. Wright said, okay, well, can you at least believe that he thought he was going to ride through the gate and reorder the world? And the guy said, yeah, I think he thought he was going to do it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Why not? Guy said, because 2,000 years is a long time to wait for things to change. He ain't wrong. He isn't wrong. You wait around long enough for things to change, and when they don't change, you start thinking, you know what? I don't think the rest of this stuff's true either. That's kind of the feeling that you have on Patmos. By the time John gets on Patmos, the divide between those who swear allegiance to the Lamb and those who swear allegiance to the emperor are far apart. I told you at Christmas time that every title we give to Jesus, the Romans were giving to the emperor. Savior, Lord, ruler, Son of God, and King. They called the emperor all of those titles. As far back as Jesus' day, the Romans were building temples in the name of the emperor with an altar. You were making sacrifices to the emperor. The first temple they built was in Ephesus. The second one they built was in Smyrna. The third one they built was in Pergamum. Why does that matter? Because those 3 churches are part of the 7 churches in Revelation. This is the tension that is behind the book. So when Jesus says to the church of Pergamum, I know where you live, where Satan's throne is located, you know full well who he's talking about now. Because there was an altar with a temple to the emperor in Pergamum. That's the divide, the tension and controversy between loyalty to Jesus and loyalty to the emperor. John, now stuck on Patmos, thoroughly under the power of the emperor, is wondering if Jesus ever going to show up. That's the one. But the other, John says, I remember all this was happening on the Lord's day. Oh, that was the other. I've been so focused on the one, I forgot the other. I was on Patmos, yes, but it was the Lord's day. I was in prison, yes, but I was also in the Spirit. Yes, Rome is in charge, but I'm remembering now, God is in control. Yeah, I can see that the world is getting worse, but wait a minute. Because of Jesus, the world is getting better. 2 things can be true at the same time. Every day of your life, you are immersed into the news of the one, such that you only believe in the other, but rarely think of it. You don't disbelieve it. It just never comes up. But what is the difference between believing in something that you never talk about or think about and not believing in it? What is the felt difference? So John's letter comes to the church today with a powerful message. And that message is, you are living as I was, under the threat of an empire. But you are also living in the Lord's day. You are living in exile, but you are also living in the Spirit. Yes, because of the empire, things are coming apart. But because of the Lamb, things are coming together. Yes, the empire is in charge, but God is in control. You can't forget that. Everything you read in the news, you have to put it in that perspective. Some years ago, I told a story. I'm going to tell it again. It was, I apologize for repeating myself. I don't like to do it. I think it was 18 or 19 years ago. I'm not making this up. I told a story, and some of you are barely 18 years old. You weren't even here. There's a movie. Have you seen it? It's called Searching for Bobby Fischer. It's a great movie. It's about a kid savant who's a chess player. He's just a natural. So he goes to the park and he starts playing old men, and he beats them. He plays harder and he beats them. Then one day he finds a chess master who will spend time with him, teach him the elements of the game, teach him how to see moves before they happen. And with the help of the master, he gets even better. He enters tournaments. He starts to win. The further he goes into the tournament, the stiffer the competition. Now he's winning, but barely. Finally, he comes to the last match, the championship, where he has to play the Grand Master. So now you have a Grand Master who wins everything, and you have a kid savant who's still learning the game. The master who taught the kid is not able to be in the room. The rules require him to be in a separate room watching the match on television. And all you can see is the master pacing back and forth while he watches the screen, nervous that the boy is going to lose. And so far, he's losing. He's given up castles and knights, and he's taken only pawns. And the master watches this nervously and waits for something to change. And then, in a moment, when the kid savant's opponent makes one move, the master's face changes. He goes from looking like this to looking like this. And he says, "You got him. You got him. Look at it. Study the board. You're 11 moves away, but you've got him." It pans back to the child who is sitting at the table, studying the table. And finally, there's a moment when the boy's face changes. The lights come on. He can see the game, the whole game, the one in front of him and the one that is about to be played out 11 moves from now. And when he sees it, his face changes. The master looks at him and says, he sees it. He sees it. Opponent makes a move, the boy another, then another, then another, then another. Here's the spoiler. He won. The message of Revelation to the church is that you are 11 moves away from winning. And some of you still feel like you won't. I read the same news you do. I get the emails. I have conversations. Can't you see what Trump is doing? Don't you see what Putin is doing? Don't you see what the government's doing? Can't you see what's happening to the market? Aren't you aware of China? Don't you see what's happening in Venezuela? Aren't you watching the news? I read at least, I promise you, as much news as you do. 5 or 6 papers every night. I know at least as much as you know about what is happening in culture today from both sides. But you are 11 moves away from winning. The game is already over. You just don't know it. So I went back to read Revelation in my devotions. And like you, I was afraid of it. I got partway through it, and then I hit Revelation 6. And then I saw the first seal, and out come the 4 horsemen. And there's 1/3 of the world gone, and then the next day I'm reading my devotions, and there's another third of the world, and then I get to the 4th horse, and I'm thinking, how many times is the world gonna be dead? The math isn't adding up here. We get through the seals, and then it says, well, here's the day the Lord has made. There's 7 trumpets. And now even nature is in chaos. Not only the people, now it's the sun, it's the rivers, everything is coming apart. I get into chapter 11 and 12, and the dragon is chasing the child out. I get into chapter 14 and 15, and I see the great city just raining terror on the people of God. I see blood. I see martyrs. Every day, another baptism in this. I finished the book and I thought, never again do I read this. And then I told the first hour, I thought to myself, next I'm going to read something light, like Jeremiah, Yeah. And I get this voice in my head say, read it again. Two things can be true at the same time. You focus so much on the one, you never saw the other. Read it again. Look for the other. You see what you look for the other. So I read it again. And this time, I saw the other. In Revelation chapter 1, I saw the Son of Man coming on the clouds. And I saw every eye watching him. Even the people who pierced him, they didn't want to see him, saw him, and they mourned because of him. In Revelation chapter 2 and 3, I saw him standing in the church, the same tired church that is just run through the liturgies. Another service, another Sunday. How was the worship today? What did you think about the sermon today? And there in Revelation 2 and 3, he was standing in the midst of the church. Revelation chapter 5, I saw him standing, not seated, standing on a throne. And I saw elders and angels that were falling in front of him. In Revelation chapter 7, I saw blood, lots of blood, thousands of people who were killed because of their allegiance to him. But I saw something else. Standing in the midst of these thousands of people, now they were alive, more alive than ever, and they were immortal. And this Lamb who was standing on the throne was now standing in the midst of a multitude of people you can't kill anymore. And they were people from every nation, every language, every tribe, every ethnicity. It was everything the church wants. And it was there in Revelation chapter 7. In Revelation chapter 11, I saw him towering over the rulers of this world, all of the ones you read about in the news. And he was turning their little kingdoms into the kingdom of our God and of his Christ. And he will reign forever and ever. In Revelation chapter 14, I saw more martyrs. I saw more blood, but this time it was his. And I heard a voice from the throne say, "Blessed are those who die in the Lord. They rest from their labors, and their deeds follow them." In Revelation chapter 17, I saw him take the great city, raining down terror on the world. It wasn't bad people. It was the power behind bad people. He had hold of it, and he was throwing it into the abyss. In Revelation chapter 19, I saw him standing in a chapel, at the front of a chapel, waiting like a groom for the church, the bride, to come down the aisle. I saw him marrying this tired, frazzled church, reuniting with them again. I turned in Revelation chapter 21, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. I would love it right now if you would stand with me and read what you see in Revelation 21 and 22. I see a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and earth have passed away. I see a holy city coming down out of heaven like a bride. I hear a voice from the throne saying, "Look, the home of God is now among his people. God himself will be with them. He will take away every sorrow, and there will be no more death, for the old world is gone forever." In chapter 22, I saw a city with a river running straight through the middle of it. It started at the throne of the Lamb, and it gave life to everything in the city. There was no sun, there was no moon, there was nothing to light it. And yet in the evening, it was light, because the Son of God himself was the light. And I heard a voice in Revelation 22, and it was talking to Christians in churches like this one who are tired and worn out of the struggle. And the voice says to us, "Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me to repay everyone according to their deeds. I am Alpha and Omega, first and the last, the beginning and the end." Church, the chaos is predictable, but God is active. He is changing the world in present tense. He is making everything new.